This is my painting journal. I have a lot of ideas in here, and I have bubbles and clouds and sunflowers and tulips, but I don't have a pumpkin. So let's paint a pumpkin. Let's just draw this in. So I start with the center, draw a little oval, and then another little section, so kind of half an oval, and another one, and you can totally do this. So we can maybe see a couple little areas of the back. And then we need a stem, okay? And I love when my stems are really nice and whimsical. So we are going to add some little curves maybe. All right, let's paint this cute pumpkin. So I love working on dark backgrounds. I love whimsical. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on this black background. We're gonna add some highlights. Okay, so you can see I sort of ranged my color from darkest to light. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with that burnt orange as a base. Okay, so I'm using the Lunar Blender favorite brush. Check it out. I have a little YouTube video on how I use this. But basically, it has a bristle hair mixed with a soft hair, so really nice and whimsical. We're gonna wet it first, so that just softens up the bristles. Okay, tap off the excess water, and that's the trick. Make sure that your brush doesn't have any water. Okay, and you're gonna take that darkest highlight color, okay, which is burnt orange, and we're gonna base coat this. But we're gonna base coat it so that it skips a little bit. Okay, so again, make sure that you get rid of the excess water, tap it off, take a little bit of burnt orange, just blend off the excess on your palette, and we're gonna loosely base that in. Okay, so you can see how I let the paint sort of skip, like so, right in here, and I'm gonna use that black background to my advantage. So I'm gonna leave those graphite lines showing, or the chalk lines. Okay, so that when I erase them, I'm gonna have a little bit of shadowing and a little bit of separation. Okay, so again, I always pick up paint, blend off the excess, okay, and you're gonna start right at the top where the color is gonna be the most vibrant, like this. So you really press on your brush. I'm resting my hand, okay, I have lots of control. I'm holding my brush right on the ferrule, the metal part of the brush. Okay, and you start kind of at the top there, and then as you come down, you sort of flick your brush like this so that it skips, and you get this really loose, airy kind of stroke, which I love. Love loose, whimsical, soft edges. That's my thing. Okay, so I'm just gonna base coat these sections. Okay, again, you can see how I'm leaving a little bit of separation. Okay, leaving those little chalk lines showing. Like this. Okay, and because that was so much fun, I'm gonna do it all again. Okay, so right in here, I'm adding more color just to brighten. Okay, so this is really nice and dry. I'm gonna add highlights on top of this. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the next color. You don't even have to rinse your brush. You're just gonna take a little bit of that. This one is Tiger Lily, such a nice, bright, beautiful color. Okay, and I'm going to highlight. Okay, so I'm gonna start right at the top. Again, there's no water in my brush, like this. I just grabbed a little bit of paint, and I'm pulling down and allowing it to skip, okay? So you can see I'm actually not starting right at the top. I'm starting down just a little bit because your pumpkin is nice and rounded, so I want the highlight to be right in the center there, the brightest highlight, okay? So, and each color that we highlight with will cover a smaller section, so you have a nice gradual color change from dark to nice and light. Okay, so just allowing that to skip. I'm gonna blow dry this. And we've got spiced pumpkin, so fitting. Okay, so, and again, every time that I pick up paint, I always tap off the excess water, if there is any, okay, and I'm gonna take a little bit of spiced pumpkin, blend back and forth on your palette to get rid of the excess paint, and evenly distribute it on your brush. And now you're gonna add another nice little highlight. Again, you can see I'm not starting right at the top, but just down a little bit. okay, like this. So it's kind of like, it's not really a dry brush because I'm using more paint. It's more of a whimsical stroke. Okay, so right in here, this is adding a nice little orange color like that. It's starting to come to life, which I love. Okay, so again, going to that next color, I've got a little bit of Orange Twist, favorite color. If you don't have Orange Twist, you can use Spiced Pumpkin and Sunny Day. That works great. Okay, so like this. This is just a little bit lighter, so you can add a little bit of yellow to the... Okay, and this is where it maybe looks a little bit more like a dry brush. Okay, the paint skips a little bit more. You can see that lighter color. Okay, every time I pick up paint, I always blend on my palette. Okay, and then you want to add a little, I always like to add a little bit of yellow. So if you want to pull up a little bit more of an orangey red from the bottom, looks really nice. Okay, so you can add a little bit of, and warm it up maybe a little bit here and there. Just nice and light. All right, now our stem. Okay, so usually, again, I'm gonna use that black background to my advantage, and I'm gonna use a little bit of burnt umber, okay, just with a round brush, and you can paint that in. Okay, so just, and I use little smaller strokes, so it looks like it might have a little bit of a curve to it, some twists and whimsical strokes like this. Okay, so they kind of come off to a little bit of a curve. They're twisting. They're kind of like little diagonal strokes, so it looks like they're twisting around. We can add that little curl in there like this, and then we're going to highlight this. Okay, so once we get that base in, okay, with the burnt umber, then we can add a few little highlights with maybe some raw sienna and some yellows. Okay, so this time, imagine our light source is up here. Okay, so maybe there's a moon, and we're just going to highlight those couple little sections. Okay, so maybe where the moonlight would hit it. Okay, so just adding a little touch right here. Okay, again, still very whimsical. The paint skips. I haven't added any water to the paint because I love it when it's really loose and whimsical and soft edges. Okay, so just adding that little curl or little swirl. Okay, like so. Okay, so lots of little strokes. Okay, not one continuous one, just lots of little ones. Okay, and most of them come off at an angle or a diagonal. So I start on one side, come down to the other side. That way it looks like those little swirls are curling around. Okay, so I love pumpkin stems, how they are twisting and turning. Love it. Okay, and then you can add more highlights. Like this. Okay, so I'm just gonna add a little bit of yellow to the raw sienna right in here with my round brush, and then add a few more little highlights. Like, look at how it just comes to life. Okay, each color adds a little extra. Like so, with little okay, don't think too much. Okay, just have fun. And again, you just kind of keep getting brighter depending on, you know, how bright that light is. Maybe there's a really nice bright moon up top. Okay, like this. There's our cute little pumpkin. Maybe it needs a couple little spider webs. I don't know. You could just keep going on this. You could leave it just as a pumpkin, or you can turn it into a jack-o'-lantern, which is really hard for me not to do. But I'm gonna add a little spider web. There's a little spider web. I hope you guys enjoyed this little demo and your day is a creative one. I'm Holly. Thanks for watching and commenting. Have a great day.